In this video, I will be going into depth exploring the layers of the psychedelic iceberg. The iceberg was posted on Reddit, and the link to the original post is in the description if you want to follow along the journey. If you are not familiar with icebergs, each layer represents how deep into a subject you go, with each layer being filled with terms commonly used in each layer of knowledge. This video is based on the first layer, a person's introduction into the topic of psychedelics, and will be important to learn as the deeper you go. Many layers will begin referencing each other. This iceberg covers the history of psychedelics, terminology, concepts, religion, government conspiracies, and more the deeper we go. With that, let's get started. Set and setting are two important concepts in psychedelic use. Set refers to the mental and emotional state of the user, while setting refers to the physical and social environment in which the psychedelic experience takes place. Both set and setting can have a significant impact on the quality and nature of the psychedelic experience. For example, a user who is feeling anxious or stressed may have a more negative experience than a user who is feeling calm and relaxed. Similarly, a user who is in a comfortable and supportive environment is more likely to have a positive experience than a user who is in a chaotic or unfamiliar environment. There are a few things that users can do to optimize their set and setting for a psychedelic experience. Set. Prepare for the experience by reflecting on your intentions and what you hope to gain from it. Make sure that you are feeling mentally and emotionally stable. Avoid using psychedelics if you are feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed. Setting. Choose a safe and comfortable place to have the experience. Surround yourself with people who you trust and who will support you. Avoid distractions such as noise, bright lights, and screens. It is important to note that set and setting are not just important for psychedelic use. They can also play a role in the experience of other psychoactive substances, such as alcohol and cannabis. In fact, set and setting are important for any activity that has the potential to be transformative or life-changing. Here are some additional tips for optimizing your set and setting. Meditate or do some other form of mindfulness practice before the experience. Create a playlist of music that you find calming and inspiring. Write down your intentions for the experience. Dim the lights and create a relaxing atmosphere. Have a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Have water and snacks available. Have a trusted friend or sitter present. By taking the time to prepare your set and setting, you can increase the chances of having a positive and meaningful psychedelic experience. DARE, or Drug Abuse Resistance Education, is a school-based program designed to teach children about the dangers of drug use and violence. It was founded in 1983 in Los Angeles, California, and has since been implemented in over 7,000 schools across the United States and 70 other countries. The DARE program is typically taught by law enforcement officers in grades K-12. It covers a variety of topics, including the physical and psychological effects of drug use, the risks associated with drug use, such as addiction, overdosing, and death, how to resist peer pressure to use drugs, how to make good decisions in difficult situations, how to avoid violence and other harmful behaviors. The DARE program has been praised for its effectiveness in reducing drug use and violence among youth. However, it has also been criticized for its focus on abstinence-only education and its portrayal of law enforcement as the ultimate authority on drug use. Despite its critics, DARE remains one of the most popular drug prevention programs in the world. It is estimated that over 70 million students have participated in the program since its inception. A threshold dose is the smallest dose of a drug that produces a noticeable effect. In the context of psychedelics, a threshold dose is the smallest dose that produces a noticeable alteration in perception or consciousness. The threshold dose for psychedelics varies depending on the individual and the specific psychedelic substance. For example, the threshold dose for LSD is typically around 20-30 micrograms, while the threshold dose for psilocybin mushrooms is typically around 0.51 gram. Threshold doses can be used for a variety of purposes, such as microdosing, psychedelic therapy, and spiritual exploration. Microdosing is the practice of taking very small doses of psychedelics on a regular basis, typically with the goal of improving cognitive function, mood, and creativity. The phrase "LSD makes you jump out of windows" is a common myth about the drug lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. LSD is a psychedelic drug that alters perception and mood. It is known to cause hallucinations, distortions in time and space, and intense emotional experiences. While LSD can cause some bizarre and unpredictable behavior, there is no evidence that it directly causes people to jump out of windows. However, there are a few reasons why people who are under the influence of LSD may be more likely to do this. LSD can cause people to lose their sense of depth perception and judgment. This could lead someone to believe that they can fly, or that they can safely jump from a high place without getting injured. LSD can also cause intense emotions, such as anxiety, paranoia, and fear. These emotions could lead someone to make impulsive and dangerous decisions. People with pre-existing mental health problems, such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, may be more likely to experience a bad trip on LSD. A bad trip can be characterized by frightening hallucinations and delusions. In some cases, a bad trip could lead someone to harm themselves or others. The vast majority of people who use LSD, however, do not experience any serious negative effects. Thought loops can be a common experience during psychedelic trips. And this is because psychedelics can alter the way our brains process information, making us more susceptible to repetitive and obsessive thoughts. Here are some examples of thought loops that may occur during psychedelic experiences. Am I going to lose my mind? I'm stuck in this loop forever. I'm going to die. I'm not good enough. I'm all alone. If you start to experience a thought loop during a psychedelic trip, it is important to try to stay calm and grounded. Here are some tips. Acknowledge the thought loop. The first step is to acknowledge the thought loop and label it as a thought. This can help you to distance yourself from the thought and see it for what it is. Just a thought. Challenge the thought loop. Ask yourself if the thought loop is true. Is there any evidence to support the thought loop? Is there another way to look at the situation? Let go of the thought loop. Once you have challenged the thought loop, let it go. Don't try to fight it or suppress it. Just let it float away like a cloud. Change your environment. If you are in a chaotic or stressful environment, try to move to a more calming and safe space. Talk to a friend or trip sitter. If you are feeling overwhelmed, talk to a friend or trip sitter. They can help you to ground yourself and break out of the thought loop. It is important to remember that thought loops are a normal part of some psychedelic experiences. They do not mean that you are going crazy. Ego death, also known as ego dissolution, is a temporary loss of self-consciousness or sense of self. It is often described as a feeling of oneness with the universe or a complete loss of ego. Ego death can be experienced during psychedelic experiences, such as those induced by LSD, psilocybin, or DMT. There are many different theories about what causes ego death. Some believe that it is a result of the psychedelic drugs disrupting the normal functioning of the brain's default mode network, which is responsible for our sense of self. Others believe that it is a spiritual experience that allows us to connect with something larger than ourselves. Loss of self-identity. During ego death, individuals may feel as though they are detached from their own ego, which is the part of the mind that perceives itself as a separate and unique entity. This can lead to a sense of oneness with the universe, where the boundaries between the self and the external world become blurred or dissolve. Transcendence. Ego death often involves a sense of transcendence beyond the ordinary constraints of ego and self. People may describe feeling connected to all of existence or experiencing a universal consciousness or interconnectedness with other beings. Loss of control. This experience can be disorienting and even frightening, as individuals may feel like they are losing control over their thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. The dissolution of the ego can be accompanied by intense feelings of vulnerability and uncertainty. Spiritual insights. Many individuals report that ego death experiences lead to profound spiritual insights, a deep sense of inner peace, and a greater understanding of the nature of reality. Some liken it to a rebirth or a journey to the core of their consciousness. Psychological benefits. Some proponents of psychedelics believe that ego death experiences can have therapeutic benefits, such as helping people confront and overcome issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction. These experiences may offer a fresh perspective on one's life and challenges. Integration. After an ego death experience, individuals often go through a process of integration where they make sense of the insights gained during the journey and find ways to apply them to their daily lives. This can be a crucial aspect of using psychedelics for personal growth and healing. It's important to note that ego death can be an intense and overwhelming experience, and not everyone who uses psychedelics will have this kind of experience. Additionally, the term ego death is subjective and can vary from person to person. It is a topic that has been explored in various spiritual and philosophical traditions and is a central theme in the study of altered states of consciousness. Michael Pollan is an American author and journalist who writes about food, agriculture, and the environment. He is a contributing writer for the New York Times Magazine and a former executive editor for Harper's Magazine. Pollan has written 8 books, 6 of which have been New York Times bestsellers. His most recent book, How to Change Your Mind: What the New Science of Psychedelics Teaches Us About Consciousness, Dying, Addiction, Depression, and Transcendence, was published in 2018. The book begins with a history of psychedelic research, from the early experiments of the 1950s and 1960s to the more recent renaissance in interest in these drugs. Pollan then goes on to discuss the neuroscience of psychedelics, explaining how they work on the brain and produce their characteristic effects. The bulk of the book is devoted to exploring the potential therapeutic applications of psychedelics. Pollan discusses research on the use of psychedelics to treat a variety of conditions, including addiction, depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. He also discusses the use of psychedelics in end-of-life care to help people with terminal illnesses cope with their diagnosis and dying process. Pollan also writes about his own experiences with psychedelics. He describes his first LSD trip, which he says was a profound and transformative experience. He also discusses his experiences with psilocybin and DMT. Throughout the book, Pollan emphasizes the importance of setting and intention when using psychedelics. He argues that psychedelics can be powerful tools for personal growth and healing, but that they should be used with respect and caution. How to Change Your Mind has been praised for its clear and informative writing style, its balanced and unbiased perspective, and its personal yet rigorous approach to the subject of psychedelics. The book has also been credited with helping to raise awareness of the potential therapeutic benefits of these drugs and the need for more research in this area. Here are some of the key takeaways from Pollan's book. Psychedelic drugs have the potential to be powerful therapeutic tools for a variety of conditions, including addiction, depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Psychedelics work by altering the way the brain processes information and experiences the world. Psychedelic experiences can be profound and transformative, but they should be used with respect and caution. Setting and intention are important factors in determining the nature and quality of a psychedelic experience. Pollan's book is an important contribution to the growing body of literature on the potential therapeutic benefits of psychedelic drugs. It is a must-read for anyone who is interested in learning more about these drugs and their potential to help people heal and grow. The claim that LSD stays in your spinal cord forever is a myth. LSD is a water-soluble drug, which means that it dissolves in water and is quickly excreted from the body. Most of a dose of LSD is excreted in the urine within 24 hours, and the remaining traces are excreted in the feces over the next few days. There is no scientific evidence to support the claim that LSD can accumulate in the spinal cord or other parts of the central nervous system. In fact, studies have shown that LSD does not even cross the blood-brain barrier, which is the protective membrane that separates the bloodstream from the brain and spinal cord. The myth that LSD stays in the spinal cord forever may have originated from the fact that some people experience flashbacks or spontaneous recurrences of LSD-like effects after using the drug. However, flashbacks are not caused by LSD remaining in the body. Instead, they are thought to be caused by changes in the brain that occur as a result of LSD use. Flashbacks are relatively rare, and they typically occur within the first few weeks or months after LSD use. They can be triggered by a variety of factors, such as stress, fatigue, or certain medications. Flashbacks are usually mild and short-lived, but they can be frightening or disturbing for some people. Psilocybin is a naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in certain types of mushrooms. It has been shown to have promising results in the treatment of depression, particularly in people who have not responded well to other treatments. Psilocybin is thought to work by increasing the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that helps to promote the growth of new neurons and connections in the brain. This process, known as neuroplasticity, is thought to play a role in the antidepressant effects of psilocybin. Research on the use of psilocybin for depression is still in its early stages, but the results have been very promising. A 2020 study found that 2 doses of psilocybin administered with supportive psychotherapy were more effective than a placebo in reducing depressive symptoms in people with treatment-resistant depression. 6 months after treatment, over half of the participants in the psilocybin group were still in remission, compared to less than a quarter of the participants in the placebo group. Another study, published in 2021, found that psilocybin was just as effective as an antidepressant medication called escitalopram in reducing depressive symptoms in people with treatment-resistant depression. However, psilocybin had a faster onset of action and was associated with fewer side effects. Oregon's Psilocybin Service System, OPS, is a new system that allows adults over the age of 21 to access psilocybin services in a safe and regulated environment. The OPS was created by Ballot Measure 109, which was passed by Oregon voters in 2020. The OPS is regulated by the Oregon Health Authority, OHA. The OHA has developed rules and regulations for the licensing of psilocybin service providers and the operation of psilocybin service centers. To access psilocybin services in Oregon, you must first complete a preparation session with a licensed psilocybin facilitator. During the preparation session, you will learn about the risks and benefits of psilocybin use, and you will develop a plan for your psilocybin experience. Once you have completed the preparation session, you can schedule an administration session at a licensed psilocybin service center. During the administration session, you will consume psilocybin under the supervision of a licensed psilocybin facilitator. After your administration session, you will have access to integration sessions with a licensed psilocybin facilitator. Integration sessions are designed to help you process your psilocybin experience and integrate what you have learned into your life. The OPS is still in its early stages of implementation, but it has the potential to revolutionize the way that mental health is treated in Oregon. Psilocybin is a promising new treatment for a variety of mental health conditions, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD. The OPS will make psilocybin services more accessible to Oregonians who need them, and it will help to ensure that psilocybin is used safely and effectively. Here are some of the key features of Oregon's psilocybin service system. It is the first state in the United States to establish a legal and regulated system for psilocybin services. Adults over the age of 21 can access psilocybin services without a medical referral. Psilocybin services must be provided by licensed psilocybin facilitators and licensed psilocybin service centers. Psilocybin services must be provided in a safe and supportive environment. Clients must complete a preparation session and integration sessions before and after their psilocybin experience. Oregon's psilocybin service system is a significant step forward in the effort to make psilocybin services more accessible to people who need them. It is hoped that other states will follow Oregon's lead and develop their own psilocybin service systems in the future. Psilocybin chocolate bars are edible products that combine psilocybin, a naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in certain mushrooms, commonly referred to as magic mushrooms, with chocolate or other ingredients. These products are designed to make the consumption of psilocybin more palatable, easier to dose, and potentially more enjoyable for those interested in using this substance for its psychedelic effects. The phrase 1950s housewife on LSD is typically used in a satirical or ironic context to highlight the dramatic contrast between the conventional conformist role of the 1950s housewife and the mind-expanding, countercultural ethos associated with LSD use. In the following decades, it serves as a symbol of the radical societal shifts that occurred during the 1960s and 1970s, which challenged traditional gender roles and promoted a more open, experimental approach to life and consciousness. It's important to note that this phrase is often used as a symbol or metaphor and does not necessarily imply that housewives from the 1950s actually used LSD. It's a way of encapsulating the profound cultural changes and shifts in attitudes and values that occurred during the turbulent years that followed the 1950s. Microdosing is a practice that involves consuming small, sub-perceptual doses of certain psychoactive substances, typically psychedelic drugs, on a regular basis. These sub-threshold doses are often much lower than the amounts required to induce the full, mind-altering effects of the substance. Microdosing has gained popularity in recent years for its potential to enhance cognitive function, mood, and creativity without causing significant alterations in perception or consciousness. Alan Watts, born in 1915, died in 1973, was a British-born philosopher, writer, speaker, and popularizer of Eastern philosophy, particularly Zen Buddhism. He gained prominence in the mid-20th century for his ability to convey complex philosophical and spiritual ideas in a more accessible and relatable manner to Western audiences. Watts played a significant role in introducing Eastern thought and spirituality to a Western audience and had a profound impact on the counterculture movement of the 1960s. Watts was deeply influenced by the teachings of Zen Buddhism, Taoism, and Vedanta, as well as the works of philosophers like Carl Jung, Aldous Huxley, and D.T. Suzuki. He blended these ideas with his own interpretations and insights to create a unique and engaging approach to philosophy and spirituality. Alan Watts was an accomplished writer and speaker. He authored over 25 books, including The Way of Zen and the book on the taboo against knowing who you are. His books and lectures covered a wide range of topics, including the nature of consciousness, the human experience, and the relationship between Eastern and Western philosophies. Alan Watts played a significant role in the counterculture movement of the 1960s, particularly during the heyday of the San Francisco Bay Area's cultural revolution. His ideas on individuality, freedom, and the exploration of altered states of consciousness resonated with the spirit of the times. Decriminalize Nature is a grassroots movement and a policy initiative that advocates for the decriminalization of entheogenic substances, often referred to as natural psychedelics or plant medicines. The primary goal of this movement is to change the legal status of certain naturally occurring psychedelic substances to make them the lowest law enforcement priority, or to eliminate criminal penalties for their possession and use. These substances are typically derived from plants or fungi and have been used in various cultural and spiritual practices for centuries. Some of the commonly advocated for entheogenic substances include psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote, and iboga. The idea that MDMA puts holes in your brain is a widely circulated but scientifically inaccurate and misleading statement. This misconception likely stems from exaggerated or misunderstood information about the potential risks associated with MDMA use. While MDMA is known to have neurotoxic effects on serotonin-producing neurons in the brain, this does not result in holes in the brain. What it means is that MDMA can damage or destroy some of the nerve endings that release serotonin, a neurotransmitter responsible for mood regulation. This can lead to disruptions in mood, memory, and cognitive function. The extent of neurotoxicity associated with MDMA use depends on various factors, including the dosage, frequency of use, and individual susceptibility. High and repeated doses of MDMA are more likely to lead to neurotoxic effects. The brain has some capacity for healing and neuroplasticity. In many cases, the brain can partially recover from the effects of MDMA use if individuals reduce or cease their use of the substance. Turn on, tune in, drop out is a phrase associated with the counterculture movement of the 1960s, particularly with the prominent American writer and psychologist Timothy Leary. This phrase encapsulates a call for a transformative change in consciousness and a rejection of conventional societal norms. Turn on. This part of the phrase encourages people to open their minds and explore altered states of consciousness. Timothy Leary, along with other figures like Aldous Huxley, advocated the use of psychedelic substances, such as LSD and psilocybin, to turn on or expand one's awareness. The idea was that these substances could help individuals gain new perspectives, insights, and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. To tune in implies that once an individual has expanded their consciousness, they should be more attuned to their own thoughts, emotions, and experiences. It's a call to be more introspective and reflective, to connect with one's inner self and emotions, and to become more mindful of the world around them. Drop out suggests a rejection of the mainstream, materialistic, and conformist aspects of society. It encourages people to disengage from the traditional path of education, career, and societal expectations, and to seek alternative lifestyles or communities that align with their newfound consciousness and values. In essence, it's a call for nonconformity, and a break from the established system. Timothy Leary, who was a key figure in popularizing this phrase, faced legal troubles related to the advocacy of psychedelic drug use and was eventually imprisoned. Despite the controversies surrounding his work, the phrase "turn on, tune in, drop out" continues to be an iconic representation of the counterculture's pursuit of personal and societal transformation and the quest for alternative ways of living and thinking. Psychedelic psychotherapy is a therapeutic approach that incorporates the use of psychedelic substances such as psilocybin, LSD, MDMA, or ayahuasca as an adjunct to traditional psychotherapeutic methods. It is designed to facilitate deep introspection, emotional processing, and personal growth. This form of therapy has gained significant attention in recent years due to its potential for helping individuals address various psychological and emotional issues. Psychedelic therapy takes place in a carefully controlled and supportive environment. The therapist or facilitator guides the individual through the experience, creating a safe and comfortable space for exploration and introspection. Before the psychedelic experience, individuals usually engage in a preparation process, which may involve discussing intentions, fears, and expectations with the therapist. After the experience, integration sessions help individuals make sense of their insights and apply them to their daily lives. Psychedelic therapy is being explored for its potential therapeutic benefits in various contexts, including the treatment of conditions such as depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, and existential distress. Some studies have shown promising results in improving mental health and well-being. MAPS is an acronym that stands for the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. MAPS is a nonprofit research and educational organization dedicated to exploring the potential benefits of psychedelic substances, primarily through rigorous scientific research, clinical trials, and educational initiatives. The organization was founded in 1986 by Rick Doblin and has since become a leading advocate and driver of research into the therapeutic applications of psychedelics. Binkies at Raves is a colloquial expression that refers to the use of pacifiers, commonly known as binkies or dummies, by individuals attending raves or EDM events. The primary reason people use pacifiers at raves is to engage in oral stimulation, typically by sucking or chewing on the pacifier. This behavior can be a way to cope with jaw clenching, teeth grinding, or bruxism, which are common side effects of certain recreational substances, including MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy. Chewing on a pacifier can help prevent teeth damage and jaw tension. The use of pacifiers at raves has become a cultural symbol or identifier for those who participate in the rave and EDM scene. It's a visual cue that someone is part of the subculture and may imply an association with the use of certain recreational drugs. Ram Dass was a well-known American spiritual teacher, author, and lecturer who played a significant role in popularizing Eastern spirituality and mindfulness practices in the West. He is best known for his book, Be Here Now, and for his work in the field of psychedelic research. Ram Dass was born as Richard Alpert on April 6, 1931, in Boston, Massachusetts. He earned a PhD in psychology from Stanford University and subsequently became a professor at Harvard University, where he conducted research on the effects of psychoactive substances like LSD and psilocybin. In the 1960s, along with his colleague Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert conducted controversial research on psychedelics at Harvard. Their work was groundbreaking in exploring the potential of these substances for therapeutic and spiritual purposes. However, their advocacy for the use of psychedelics led to their dismissal from Harvard. Following his dismissal from Harvard and an extended trip to India, Alpert underwent a profound spiritual transformation and adopted the name Ram Dass, which means servant of God. He became a devoted follower of the Indian guru Neem Karoli Baba Maharaj Ji, who had a profound influence on his spiritual path. In 1971, Ram Dass authored the book Be Here Now, which became a bestseller and an iconic work in the field of spirituality. The book explores mindfulness, meditation, and the spiritual journey, emphasizing the importance of living in the present moment. It has had a profound impact on many people seeking a deeper understanding of spirituality and consciousness. Ram Dass passed away on December 22, 2019, but his teachings and writings continue to inspire and influence individuals seeking a deeper connection to spirituality and personal growth. He left a lasting legacy in the fields of mindfulness, meditation, and consciousness exploration. MDMA for psychotherapy refers to the use of the psychoactive substance, MDMA, as part of a therapeutic approach to treat individuals who are suffering from PTSD. MDMA-assisted psychotherapy is a specific treatment method that combines MDMA with traditional psychotherapy techniques. MDMA-assisted psychotherapy is a specialized form of psychotherapy in which MDMA is administered in a controlled and supervised setting to assist individuals in addressing the symptoms of PTSD. The therapy typically involves several sessions where the person ingests MDMA and engages in talk therapy with trained therapists. In a typical MDMA-assisted therapy session, the individual takes a carefully measured dose of MDMA, which is known for its empathogenic and prosocial effects. The substance can help individuals feel more open, connected, and introspective. MDMA is believed to enhance the therapeutic process by reducing anxiety, fear, and defensiveness, making it easier for individuals to confront traumatic memories and emotions. It can promote trust and empathy between the person and their therapist, which is particularly helpful when dealing with difficult or traumatic subject matter. In the United States, the FDA has designated MDMA-assisted psychotherapy as a breakthrough therapy for the treatment of PTSD, indicating its potential for significant improvement over existing treatments. This designation has streamlined the research and development process. The claim that LSD changes your chromosomes is a common myth and misconception that is not supported by scientific evidence. This idea is rooted in the misinformation and scare tactics of the past, particularly during the 1960s, when psychedelics like LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, gained popularity and also faced widespread opposition. Chromosomes carry genetic information and are found within the nucleus of a cell. Changes to chromosomes at a genetic level are typically caused by mutations, radiation exposure, or certain environmental toxins. LSD does not possess the properties or mechanisms to induce genetic mutations or chromosome alterations. The myth likely emerged from the fear and moral panic surrounding the use of psychedelics during the counterculture era of the 1960s. Some authorities and anti-drug campaigns spread unfounded claims about the long-term and hereditary effects of using LSD as a way to deter people from experimenting with the substance. This concludes Layer 1 of the Psychedelic Iceberg. Like and subscribe.